How shall we start this?
Do we not start every podcast with like, hi, I'm Helen Tudor and this is the Ideal Client Attraction Podcast, or not? You can have that. Done. Rocking and rolling, let's go.
And we're back. Boundaries and saying no.
No, we're back, yes.
Full stop. It's a full sentence.
No, it's a complete sentence, yeah.
Let's dive in.
Boundaries are so important in business. Boundaries are the saviour for your soul, because without them, the whole thing falls apart. And I say this with somebody who has been through every kind of version of somebody who has no boundaries, to tentatively trying to put them in place and what that entails, to having very strong boundaries now. So what I would say was, your journey with boundaries is a journey, it's a process. It's not, most people don't go into business with great boundaries.
No.
They go into business like, I just need to make some money.
Yeah.
Because money is money when you got no money, right? Mm-hmm. But when you get to a position in your business where, well, you'll know when you get to a position in your business when you need to put some boundaries in place, because above and below the line will be a mess. Yeah. You'll be doing things you don't want to do.
Yeah.
For people you don't like.
There'll be signals.
Yeah, you'll
symptoms.
You won't be making the money you want. You'll be full of resentment and anger,
bitterness,
and frustration and overwhelm. So
fuck this.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this thinking, that's me, you probably need better boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah, and these can be really simple. And they can be business and life boundaries.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of boundaries everywhere. And
it's a topic online that pops up a lot. I see it a lot.
It is. Yeah. And I'm not an expert. I can only share my kind of perspective on it.
Yeah. It tends to be more females that talk about it that I see in my
because
feeds.
we usually carry a lot of mental load. We're also brought up to be good girls, and we're also brought up to be like people pleasers, and we want to be seen to be kind and soft and feminine. And boundaries are quite a masculine thing, or can feel like a masculine thing.
Yeah, right.
But it's really, they're protecting your feminine energy.
Yeah.
So without boundaries, you are going to burn out so quickly. You are going to feel so bad, and your business is just not going to perform like it could. Yeah. It's, you can have a performing business and you can have an all right life with no boundaries, but it's going to be much more difficult.
Yeah.
So the first thing I want to talk about was boundaries with clients.
Yeah.
And in the early days, you don't have any, because you're just so excited to have a client.
Yes,
and yes, I'll do that. Yes, I'll do that. Yes, we can have it whatever we want, whatever you want. You say jump, I'll say how high.
Yeah.
You can message me anytime, day or night, and I'll just overgive, give, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of in a lot of people's nature. What I would say about boundaries with clients is clients love boundaries. Clients are like toddlers. They need boundaries. They need love. And they need to be told what to expect.
I think it was it Dan Kennedy? He said something like, you need to train your clients how to treat you, or something like that. I probably cock that up. But
this comes back to a topic we've talked about a lot, which is about you get to choose. So you get to choose your boundaries, So one of the things that as a client, when I'm the client, is I feel very unsafe if there's no boundaries, because I am very bad at respecting boundaries anyway, because I have very few self-boundaries in the way that I operate, right?
I said to you over Christmas, I said, I'll be back on the 2nd. Have a lovely Christmas. Hope you guys are thinking. And I'm going to have a time off social media. And I think you messaged me on something like, I wasn't offended by it, by the way. I think you messaged me on something like the 28th or something. It's like, hey, Mark, got these ideas for this, that, and the other. And I purposefully didn't reply.
Yeah, because that's your boundary, which is great.
But let me tell you, right, I absolutely could feel I wanted to. I said, oh, yeah, got it, I acknowledged it. I mean, I saw it, and I thought, I'll deal with that when I'm at work in the next couple of days, as it were.
Yeah.
But because I've learned a bit about boundaries, in the past, I'd have blown up. Oh, fucking dare you. I told you I'm not there till the 2nd. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just being honest. Like that, I didn't have the architecture upstairs and the skills to do it. Whereas now I'm just like, yeah, you can message me if you like, Els, but I'm back on the 2nd. My family is above you, and like, I don't mind
I wasn't expecting a reply.
Yeah,
That's
I don't mind you dropping it in.
I understand the boundary was there.
Yeah.
So I don't expect a reply.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like boundaries are for everybody. They're better for everybody.
Yes,
everyone knows what's okay.
Yeah.
And
they're healthy.
They are healthy.
They're very healthy.
And not having them is very unhealthy for your soul.
Agreed.
And for your strategy.
Yeah. For both of you.
Yeah, so there's boundaries around communication, of course.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing that I see is clients pushing the boundaries on the offer.
Clients pushing the boundaries on the offer.
So what I mean by this is normally in a good way. So a really good example of somebody who's got the best boundaries I've ever seen is my daughter, Katie.
Okay.
Right. And she's...
Who is 18, 19?
She's 19 right now, yeah. She's nearly 20. So she runs a LinkedIn growth agency. And all she does is she logs in, adds 100 people a week, asks to connect with 100 people a week, and logs out. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Right.
She charges, at the time of recording, £97 a month for that. She got tons of clients. She just bought herself a new Mercedes. It's great. And one of the things that clients do, or potential clients do, is say to her, can we get on a call? Mm-hmm. And what I've told her to say is, I don't do calls. Mm. We do all the comms in the Facebook Messenger.
Sure.
And that is the pushback.
Yeah.
Because the last thing my Katie needs is to be getting on calls with clients for a £97 a month service.
Absolutely.
And that's the line.
Yeah.
And some people don't like that. Like, well, I need to have a call because I need to this. And she's just like, I don't do calls.
So are you, my brain's already going forward. Is Katie going to have a potential consultation side to her business?
No.
Or is she just keeping it where it is?
Keeping exactly where it is.
So those boundaries stay strong.
So those boundaries stay strong, right? Some people don't like it and that's okay. Other people's emotions around your boundaries are not your problem, right? Another place where she's got a really good boundary is the offer. So the offer is I log in, you give me job titles, I log in, I add 100, ask to connect with 100 people and I log out. So what people do is they push the boundary of that and say, instead of giving you job titles, could you just find women over 40 who are in senior roles? No, I need the job titles. You give me job titles, HR manager, HR director, whatever, I will go and search for and connect with those people. That's the boundary and people don't like it, right? But if Katie said, okay, yeah, I'll just look for anyone in a senior role who's over 40, that's going to take up more time and energy for Katie to try and think it through. It also puts risk factors in because she might have the wrong person and that person's like, that's not the right person. She's had this as well. You know, you're adding the wrong types of people because she doesn't understand the industry or whatever. So she's got that boundary in place to protect herself. So no, I need the job titles, right? Another place where she's got a boundary is that you pay up front. And if you've not paid her, she don't do it.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Clients don't like it. Well, I was away and now you've missed because you only get 100 a week. So you've missed the cut. Well, that's not Kate's problem, right? Do people like it? No. But does it mean that Kate is always on top of her money? Yeah. So it's kind of the boundaries there in that priority. But the biggest place where the boundaries get wobbled and it's hard for Kate to say no, can you do more for more? Well, could you upload this content for me? Could you do this for me?
We'll pay you.
We'll pay you. She just messaged me actually, asked me if I'll write a LinkedIn profile. And I don't do it anymore, right? But it's like, I'll pay you more if you do more.
Right.
I like you. I like working with you. Could you just do this thing? Could you do it for me on Facebook? Could you do it on this? Could you do this?
Yeah.
She can. But that's not her business.
Yeah.
So she says no to money. And if there's one thing, well, there's two things I'm really proud of taught Katie. One is to say no to money because it's a hard thing to do, particularly when you're 19 and you've got a Mercedes to pay for. But, you know, the boundary's there for her sake, you know, and if she does one thing at one price for one person at a time, and that's the deal, because I know the clarity and focus is that she's doing the same service for the same sort of person. And it means that she knows to hit, you know, $5,000 a month, she needs 50 clients. Yeah, she's on about 48 at the moment. So she's about on there. She knows that to go to 10 grand a month, she's going to have to get some help.
Yes.
Yeah. But she can see the future.
Yeah.
You know, but whereas if she starts doing content for people and she starts doing engagement for people, or she starts writing profiles for people, it's going to get all messy.
This comes back to your one thing, one offer, one ideal client. And then I suppose there's a target for where the entrepreneur wants it to get to, isn't there? Yeah. There's a bit of an end game.
Yeah, she's got a goal, she's got an ideal client, she's got a plan, and she's got an offer. So, I mean, she's obviously taught by me. Yeah. So she's going to do it exactly as I tell her to do because she's pure. She's not been influenced by anyone else. She's not been anyone else's program. She doesn't look at anyone else online. So whatever I tell her to do, she does. So she shows up online. She puts her offer out every day. She puts her content out every day, and she gets clients every week. You know, so she's laughing. but it's all, her whole business is built on boundaries.
Do you teach her then, just as an example, if when she does get to a goal and let's say this demand is there for other things, that could, one of the boundaries you could say is, Katie, we can talk about that when you get here.
Yeah, so one of the things that was really interesting as well is, so Megan, my other daughter, who's 17, she had her own business doing podcast pitching.
Right.
So for 97,
I remember this.
Yeah, £97, she'll go and research, I think it's 25 podcasts and make sure they're active, and she'll then pitch you to them. You write the blurb and she sends it to the email and tells them to email you back, right? She wanted to buy some hair thing that's 500 quid, some hair dryer that's 500 quid. Not even a hair dryer, hair thing, tool. So I said, well, why don't you do that? She got 5 clients. So she got about 10 clients. She made about £1,000. Yeah, she bought the hair thing. She paid for some stuff. The last thing Megan wants to do is do that anymore. Like, she didn't.
It's not her.
She can do it.
Yeah.
Well, it's not really her. She didn't really enjoy it. She just did it for the money.
Yeah.
And Katie said, well, why don't I? But there's loads of demand. I can sell that all day, every day. Katie says, why don't I get the clients and you just do the work? So he said, yeah, okay. So we put it out there. Katie put it out there and she got loads of clients. And Katie said, Mum, I hate doing this.
Right.
I didn't like, she didn't feel right, right?
Yeah.
She was just doing it for the money because there was an opportunity. And I said, this is such a really strong example for you early on in your entrepreneurial career.
Of saying yes and breaking a boundary.
Yeah, exactly. You broke a boundary and you said yes to something that you really should have said no to.
Yeah.
Your body's saying no, your soul's saying no. So from now on, we say no and we've learned from it and we move forward. So I think that's one thing, I guess, to take away from this for our listeners is, there's things that you do in your business you don't enjoy. You've got to put a boundary on it and not do them anymore and say no to the money.
Do you think when there's no money, because it's not like the girls are living at home, aren't they? So it's a little bit different to maybe when you was like a single mum, for example. So, and I think when did we cover this? We covered this in one of the other episodes. I can't remember which one now. But
about the motivator, moving away from something. Yeah.
And I think, I'm not going to say the phrase because it's disgusting, but a mentor once said to me, sometimes you've got to bend over,
right.
you know, for some things. So like, for example, I did a job about 18 months ago. I didn't want to do it. I was just like, God, I could do without this. Because I know how much work's involved. And then there was some wrestling with the fee. Anyway, I said yes, and I went against the boundary. I tried to polish it, in a different way. And I sort of come back from it. I was just mad at myself. I was just cross.
You've crossed your own boundary. God, you've let yourself down. Yeah.
But my point was I didn't need to do it. But there was examples of that in the past where I needed the money.
Yeah.
So I would do it. I'd destitute myself. I would do anything, so to speak. I think I'm not going to say what you want to say on that. What are your thoughts on that? When someone needs money, so they're going to like do anything. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I've said this a few times, but money's money when you got no money, right?
Yeah,
so I get it and I understand that. But there's still ways to make money that are simple and easy and fun and enjoyable. You don't have to always do horrible things for money just because you can.
Even in that situation.
Even in that situation, because unless it's absolutely desperate and somebody's offering you some money and you got to do something you hate, do that with full self-awareness that I am saying yes when I mean no. I would need to take the money. It's not going to feel good, and I'm okay with that. Like I'm
just
going
now,
in, like
not
don't
forever.
Don't kid yourself that like it's all going to be all right and we're going to have a good time. It's like I know this is going to be horrible, and I'm prepared to do it for the money, and that's fine. That's basically what having a job is most of the time, right? I'm prepared to do things I don't want to do for somebody I don't like for cash because that's what pays my bills, and that's how most of the world operates. So it can be done. It's not like the end of the world. You do something you don't like for someone you don't like. But it's not a long-term plan because it will erode. It'll erode your self-esteem and your confidence and your alignment will be out. Yeah. So
what you're saying is, like in other episodes, awareness of this first and foremost, and be radically real about it.
Yeah,
like,
radical responsibility. This is going to be horrible, and that's okay. Yeah, I'm prepared for it. It's like it'll feel good. The money will make it feel good, and that's one of the things I talk about when we talk right back in episode 1, which feels like a lifetime ago. Client audits. Sometimes a client can be a great client just because they pay you so much money, you'd do anything. Yeah. And it soothes the pain. Sometimes people say to me like, I've got this offer but I don't like it. And I was like, why don't you like it? Well, I could only charge 100 quid for it. I was like, well, what if you charge £1,000 for it? And they're like, oh my God, I love it then. You know, it's like, well, maybe that's the shift you need to move it out of amber to green. So there's definitely an element of, and I say to people, like, what's your like all-inclusive, all-you-can-eat, no limits offer? Like, what price would you put on that? So I always say, like, if someone paid me 100 grand a year, I would pretty much do whatever they needed me to do in terms of helping them in their business. Do you know what I mean? I'd support them, I'd mentor them, I'd give them all my contacts, you know, I'd go to the house once a quarter if they wanted. There would be some limits, but you know, if someone's paying me 100 grand, they probably won't push my boundaries because they'll understand it and respect and all the rest of it.
I think I've done the maths. It's £8,333
recurring.
a month.
Yeah. I know that because that's what $1 million is 83,333 recurring. But it's kind of like, so sometimes you can ease your own boundaries for more money. So it's almost like if you're going to do something for money, make sure it's a lot of money and it's worth it. If you're compromising your boundaries on what you're doing, like, and who you're doing it for, don't compromise on the money. Because if you do it on all three, that's going to feel really bad. You know, if you're doing stuff you don't like for someone you don't like for money that doesn't make a difference, it's not worth it.
So I think what we're saying is, even if life isn't really going to plan in a really not so great way, that's me politely saying life's turned to shit. You can still have a degree of boundary practice, even at that low level.
It's like, it's a process. That's what I said right at the beginning. You're not going to, no one's born with perfectly formed boundaries.
No, absolutely,
it's something that you learn and you test and you measure as you go. And every time you do it, it feels a bit, ooh. You know, so one of the boundaries, so I wanted to talk, that's boundaries with clients, but I wanted to talk with boundaries with non-clients, so with audience.
Okay.
So as you grow.
Right. So people who haven't bought from you
bought from you, but they follow you, they like your stuff, they comment on your stuff.
Potentials.
Yeah, potential clients.
Yeah.
I put a boundary in place after a session with a mentor who said, if you want to have a 7-figure business, you got to operate like a 7-figure business owner right now. And because I said, I'm just so overwhelmed. I'm getting like, at one point I was getting over 100 DMs a day. God. Because I counted them. Just, can I ask you this? Or I wanted to tell you that. Or I've seen this thing.
I'm sorry about those DMs.
Or like, you know, whatever it might, you know, I'm talking about Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, like everywhere. And I said to her, like, I don't know, like, I can't reply to all these people. And she's like, don't. Stop. And I felt really rude. You know what I mean? I
thought you were just going to say relieved, but rude.
Well, I felt relieved, but also a bit rude. Because I thought, these are nice people who are nice, who are potential clients. And you want to help them. And I want to help them. And I want to be seen, this good girl programming, right? I want to be seen to be a nice person. I was taught to be polite and all that kind of stuff. So to just ignore somebody felt quite rude, but also very liberating.
Sure.
And then I was like, oh, I've got 4 hours on my day back. Great.
Did you, at that moment when you were doing that, I think sometimes when you're putting packages together, so I've had packages before where it's like, you can do it yourself, I can do it with you, the old-fashioned done together, a group and all this lot, or I can do it for you. It's a bit like the 100 grand thing. That my change in boundaries was quite prolific and quite impactful on me when I thought of that.
You get much better as well at identifying. So you said in the last episode the one before, about people DMing you. Yeah, and it's like, well, if you just say hello, how do I know whether it's they want to buy from me or they want me to buy from them and the rest of it? I think you get much better as you get more exposed to it at spotting the difference. My clients that buy from me do not come in and say hello. They say, hi, Helen, have you got space for us to do an ideal client session? And how can I get one? That's what they say. They don't say, hello, how are you doing? How's things? What are you working on right now? None of that shit. They say, hi, Helen, I'd like to buy from you. And how do I go about that? Screw
our mutual friends on Facebook.
They don't want to build, a relationship with me in the DMs. They want to buy from me.
The direct.
And you can spot the difference.
Do you think that's because you're quite direct? I think.
Very.
But you're friendly with it. You're not. I mean, some people are direct and they're assholes. I ain't got time for it. I'm just like, fucking hell, this person's like, it drains me. But I like your directness, but you do it nicely and you do it with certainty, as it were. Sounds like that. It's almost like the Dan Kennedy approach. You've taught them how to be with you, or maybe you're just attracting like attracts like.
Yeah, maybe that I attract that type of person. But I think honestly, if you looked in my DMs, you'd spot the pattern because I'm exposed to it at volume.
Right.
So, but I don't even reply to people that just want to make friends and start a conversation because I know there's a pitch coming.
Do you read them? Do you read them all?
No, well, I skim them. I don't particularly
If it's
read
bloody
them.
War and Peace, you like, fuck
Yeah,
that.
like my business pages, I don't even look in those.
Right.
So don't ever, if you're DMing me, my team don't always pick those up either. So sometimes I find leads in there.
Oh, right, what, in your
in
business?
my business page, on Facebook, because I don't monitor it. But, I skim read my LinkedIn DMs. I mean, Christ, that's where like businesses go to die, right? It's like I get 100 DMs on LinkedIn for every lead.
Right.
For people trying to sell me stuff, because that's how everyone was taught how to use LinkedIn. I didn't teach anyone to do that. I taught a no DMing strategy, but 90% of the people who do LinkedIn taught DM people, build a relationship and all that crap, right? Which is, I always think, nice people, badly trained. But I haven't got time to engage with that. A hard boundary for me is I do not reply to you if you want to just hang out. If you want to say something nice to me, I'll probably reply. I'll be like, oh my God, I love it, thanks.
Yeah.
But there'll come a point I won't be able to reply to all those as well. So I have to get comfortable with having that boundary that some people somewhere might be offended by that.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
We're living in a weird world, aren't we? Because in online world, the numbers are colossal. So we can't, there's the old tribal thing, isn't there, about we evolved with only 150 people that we'd ever know in our lifetime, all this type of stuff. And it's like, I think I don't know where yours is now. Is it about 15,000 on Facebook?
Facebook's about 15K, yeah.
Mine's about 6,000. So, and I'm like, I don't know half these people. I don't even know like a tenth of them.
You're not supposed to, are they? But they know you.
Yeah, and then you ramp that up to someone who's maybe got a million followers, and it's just like, how do you manage this? And I hear the same phrase from them all. It's like, we don't
manage it. Exactly.
We don't bother with it. It's like, but then if they put a book out, it's like there's a system. And that those people can go through that, as it were. I think it was David Bowie back in the day. He says, because I'm a musician and I like all that. But this was pre-internet. Like before it was anything, before Google and YouTube and all that. I think it was Paxman he was talking to. And he said, there's going to come a time, because he's an artist, he said, there's going to come a time where the artist can communicate directly with the consumer. There'll be no barrier. He says, and it'll be through this thing called the internet that they're developing right now. He said, it's going to do two things. He said, it's going to change the fan's life because they've got access to in a much more direct way. But he said, let me tell you what it's also going to do. It's going to change the artist. Yeah. Because the barriers to communication are going to be different. We're talking about something different here because you've got to protect yourself and all this lot. But he was talking more from the point of view of this will be a net positive thing. It's going to be good. Because I think prior to that, it was like the Beatles and there would be police in the way of the fans and the band. I'm like, I mean, I've never had that at any gigs I've played at, you know what I mean? Like the fans could just walk up and go, hi Mark, hi, how are you doing? You know, no one's asked me to sign out, you know, that sort of thing. But this again, it's an example of boundaries, so to speak. And someone as big as David Bowie, a unbelievable sensation in the pop world, as it were, music world. I think no as a full sentence. Yeah. Talk to that a little bit.
This is really important in business and personal. So I call it like future self. My future self's going to hate me if I say yes to this. Because it's easy to say no and it's easy to say yes and it's hard to say no.
Are you doing this through practice then and doing a check-in?
Can be, yeah. But if I get asked to do something, and I get asked to do things all day, every day, right? I have to decide, is this moving me closer or further away to my goal? Is this what my soul wants me to do? Does this feel good to me? But also like, is this what I committed to for myself? Yeah. You know, so a big test will be speaking gigs for me. Yeah. I'll say no to the speaking gig because saying yes is easy and it feels right and it looks right. But saying no is honouring me and the future version of me that will be horrible the week before the event.
What says yes then? Is it like your ego and
well,
your ambition?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my business says yes, get on the stage because you'll sell more shit, right? You know, my team will be like, will you get on the bloody stage? You'll sell more programs, right? But my soul says no because it's honouring future self. He'll see that in my diary and not feel good about it. And And it's the same with personal stuff as well.
Have you done it and it's not felt good? Where you've gone, I've said yes, it's
a
in the
million
diary,
times.
and then it's sat there waiting for you.
A million times.
God.
Yeah. And it's like, if I get asked to do a LinkedIn profile. So the year before last, I wrote loads of LinkedIn profiles. Easy, fun, enjoyable, profitable. Yeah. Charge $1,000. I get them done in about 20 minutes. I do it all by comms via Messenger.
You need to put your rate up, love.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And everyone was blown away.
Yeah.
But having 3 of those to write a week was like having homework to do.
Right.
I'd put it off and I'd put it off and I'd put it off. And then I'd end up doing it at the last minute.
Because you didn't want to do it.
And it'd just be hanging over me.
Yeah.
Because I just had something to do.
Yeah.
So I just stopped doing it.
Yeah.
Even though I was making money and I was enjoying it and it was good. I wasn't enjoying the boundary for me was this doesn't feel good 100%.
Was it the fact that it was an appointment? Because you like a bit of autonomy.
It wasn't appointments because I do it all by Messenger. Honestly, I just send the questions, I'd answer the questions, I'd write the profile and send it. It wasn't that big a deal.
Righto.
But just having them to do gave me that feeling of I've got homework to do.
Right.
I've got a person I've got to deliver something to.
And where you were going at that time, that was out of alignment with that.
Yeah.
Got you. Yeah. Let me ask you about this. So when you put your content out, and I think you might have even said this in one of the podcasts or just when we were chatting off air, Mark, I'm an oversharer.
Yes, can be.
So from that perspective, so where do boundaries come in there then for you? Like
we've talked about earlier, there's some things that I don't share because they're not my story.
Boundaries.
So there's a boundary there.
Yeah.
And there's some things that I don't share because they're nobody else's business. So there's a boundary there. And there's part of me that I think I do have quite good boundaries over my content, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think I overshare much more in person. Like I tell people everything.
I don't think you overshare online.
No, I don't think I do.
I think you're open.
Yeah.
I think we know a lot about you. I've shared as much as you is the way you do it. And if I think about it, it's like it's gone nuts. I've just let the boundary just go and it's just like fucking hell, like this is.
Well, then you get like that sort of vulnerability hangover where you're like, oh, did I share too much? A bit like when you wake up in the morning and you've been to a party and you're like, oh, why was I telling that woman all that stuff? I only met her once.
What's the phrase? Text drunk.
The beer fear.
I think Sherry calls it a showing up hangover.
Yeah.
You have this sort of
like that
thing.
visibility hangover. Yeah.
I think what the lovely listeners like to hear about, because sometimes you can do that and it can happen and you might not be aware of it and you will quote unquote overshare. Let's talk about pulling it back and how it's okay.
Yeah, well, it is okay.
You don't have to share everything.
Comes back to this theme really of it's your business, your rules, you run it how you want. You can do whatever you want and you can have a boundary and move it. Because it's your boundary.
Sure.
You can do what you want. So and the thing is about boundaries is when you change something, the people who are most invested of you having that boundary where it is are the people that
that'll come to you. Yeah.
Because for example, in my mastermind program, I used to do hot seats. So when there was only 100 people in it, I would get 20, 30 people in the call. I'd go around and I'd talk to everyone. I can't do that anymore. I've got 2,000 people in there. I can't do it.
Just physically
can't do it. Yeah. So when I changed from hot seats to me just presenting and maybe chatting in the comments, I can't even let people on the camera anymore because if they don't stop, I can't control that amount of people. Do you know what I mean?
Just chaos.
So that was just a boundary I had to put in place.
That's a scaling problem as well, isn't it?
But people didn't like it.
Yeah.
Oh, Helen's changed.
Because you got to go back.
Yeah, we used to be able to come on and speak to Helen, and now you can't. Yeah. Helen's different. She's changed. It's like I am different. I have changed. I have to.
Had to.
I've had to.
Yeah.
So and Christmas I have off, and I could see in one of my groups, someone was like, "Well, what does that mean for us?"
Yeah.
We paid to be in this group and Helen's off. It's like, well, Helen's off. That is it.
Yeah.
And not everyone's always going to be happy when you take things away from them. It's perceived to be taken away from them.
Difficult to foresee the scale that it would get to. A mentor once said to me, Mark, look at your business at £500 a month or 500 members a month or whatever. There was a small number. And I was like, okay, I can see that. He says, now do 50,000.
Yeah, and then what happens?
Yeah, and can they work? Because he said, if that's where you want to go, he said, you have to work from there and try
it's
and work
good
back.
Advice, yeah.
So it's the sort of scalability. I really want to get your opinion on this, or your thoughts on this. So on boundaries, right, I've noticed a trend do you really need to talk about it in that way where you're almost like beating us over the head with a club about this thing? So I think it's like the delivery of boundaries is...
Well, boundaries really are not something you have to say.
No.
Same as integrity and like honesty, and like you don't need to say I have boundaries. It's like you just have boundaries.
You set them.
Yeah.
You don't set them.
You don't need to publicly declare these are my boundaries. I mean, obviously with clients, I'll answer within 48 hours, or I'll, I work 9 till 5 or whatever it might be. But publicly in your content, you have to say, I have this boundary. You just have the boundary, It's almost silent boundaries. Yeah, and you don't have to announce it. You can just silently put them in place.
I think
and hold yourself to them as much as anyone else. Yeah.
I really like the word agreements. I was taught once about expectations versus agreements, and said it's always better to have agreed commitments with people as opposed to these expectations.
Yeah.
And they'll always let you down with the expectations because it's one-sided.
Yeah.
Whereas an agreement is a handshake. We both agree on this, and you can hold someone to that then. And I think boundaries can be run through that kind of thinking and framework and matrix. Like, hey, could I tell you about what how this works? They go, yeah, please. So that's how we set up. Are we cool with that? There's the agreement. And they go, yes. And sometimes that's formal, isn't it? It's written down in a contract, and you can hold people to that. But I think it's out there. This stuff's out there where people are assholes with boundaries. I've seen it. I know it's there.
You're getting emotionally affected by other people's content again, Mark.
I know it's impressive, isn't it?
Who cares about other people? Why do you care about other people's boundaries?
Stop counselling me on the podcast, Helen. We said we'd do this over lunch.
Other people's boundaries are none of your business. I won't worry about it. But if they want to say it, then great.
No, but I'm glad you're saying that. But my point is that our lovely listeners will be exposed to this. They'll see stuff about boundaries. Yeah. And my point is relax. Calm down. Like these can be done civilly, with respect, through your values, in very simple ways. And silently, yeah. They're just setting contracts sometimes and agreements. You're going to sneeze. Yeah. No, that's cool. We're at 35 minutes.
Yeah.
Anything to add on known and boundaries whilst you sneeze yourself into oblivion?
I know. I think the final word on boundaries for me is that these are personal to you, and they're also a work in progress. So again, don't judge your boundaries by someone else's. Sure. Don't be influenced by someone else telling what you should and shouldn't do. You know your boundaries, check in with yourself. Yeah. Remember, it comes back to the practice of like, where do I need to put in better boundaries? Where do I feel like my boundaries are being flexed somewhat? Yeah. Where do I need to put a hard boundary that's an absolutely non-negotiable? And I think it's all about self-accountability and self-awareness as well. Yeah. As you change and grow, your boundaries will change and grow with you. As your business changes and grows, your boundaries will change and grow. And that's okay. Like, it's always an evolution, not a once and done. Yeah. So I think
you're probably going to learn. You're probably going to get burnt a bit. You put your hand on the radiator and it'll burn a bit.
You've got it.
There's a boundary.
You're testing it, and does this feel good? No. Well, I don't want this to happen again, so I'm going to make sure it doesn't by stopping it upstream. So it's just it's things like that, and just having an awareness of boundaries and looking for a place in your business where you've got an understanding of where your boundaries are at right now, so you know whether you need to adjust them in the future, or where they've changed since the past.
I love it. I was looking forward to that one. I really like because I really wanted to hear all your views on it, and they're great. And thanks for putting me in my place again, Mother.
That's a theme.
That's one of the good things, that you should be open. Like I'm open with this. It's fine to be flawed here and there and learning as you go. But no, that's great. Excellent episode on boundaries. And if you've got anything that you don't like about what Helen has said, then please email her.
Gillian.
Yeah. Please email her into the abyss and the bin, room 101. And if you've got love to share, it's a DM.
Yeah, love it.
We're out of here.
Thanks.
'Cause these are the best days.